Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Radio Works World. My name's Gill, and I'm the co-host of today's show with Marina Nani, and I welcome you. I've got loads of great information to share with you today. And so if you want to go and take some notes, that's absolutely fine. Sit back, get yourself a drink, because hopefully I'm going to be able to share with you some great information. Now, if you were with us on the last call, you would have heard me talking about my story and how 4 years ago I was fat, sick and tired, to sum it up in 3 words really. And my journey has progressed since then, so that I've been able to help hundreds of people over the last 3 or 4 years to understand how they can stop treating disease, stop treating disease, but start building good health. And that's really my mission in life. My mission is to help save 1 million lives every year. And I'm building a team to help me to do that. And one of the things that I wanted to share with you today, why it is in the Western world particularly, we are all getting fat, sick and tired. Because I think that if you're going to go on any kind of journey from where you are now to where you want to be, then you need to understand the starting place in order to make the changes that you need to make in order to make those improvements. Would you agree with me, Marina?
Wow, Jill, I could not agree more. I always have this in my mind, thinking what changed in my life that I don't feel any pain. I'm full of energy. I'm happy all the time with no reason. And you know what? I could be on a journey 24 hours without needing sleep. So that's why I'm so fascinated about your discovery, about the miracle that happened to you and made you create this transferable formula and create this unfair advantage for our listeners. Over to you.
Oh, yes, and what Marine is talking about is the miracle molecule. And I promise I am going to share this with you. I am going to share the secrets of longevity and anti-aging and how you can stop treating disease and start building good health. I promise I will do that. But today, my mission is to really share with you why we are in the situation that we're in. Why it is that in the Western world, we are suffering with all sorts of diseases. So just bear with me a minute, because I want to reach out to you and let you know that I'm talking to you, or I'm talking to you in terms of your own health, or perhaps somebody that you know. So I want to have you in mind that the information I'm going to share with you is going to be so beneficial for everybody that you come into contact with. So we're going to be looking at why there are so many high levels of things like fertility problems, endocrine disorders, people with mood swings, panic attacks, simple things like headaches and migraines, joint pain, the autoimmune diseases that we see today, like ME, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, why there are rates of insulin resistance and diabetes in the world. You know, it's very sad to say that in the Western world, a third of our 11 to 16-year-olds are now clinically obese. And obesity is one of the risk factors for developing insulin resistance and diabetes. We're also seeing increasing numbers of heart disease, of course, which is my main passion, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, and memory loss as well. So if you know anybody that is suffering with any of those things, or if indeed you're suffering yourself with those things, then I'm going to hopefully educate you today as to why some of those things might have happened to you. So here we go. I believe that many health issues are the result of 2 interconnected problems. One of those is nutritional deficiencies, and the other one is chemical overload. So today I'm going to be talking about chemical overload. So I want to know, I want you to think about what I'm going to share with you, and I want you to think about whether or not you are a toxic waste dump. And today I'm going to be talking about two different types of toxins, because toxins are definitely related to disease. I'm going to be talking about exogenous toxins, so those are the things outside of the body, and endogenous toxins, which are the ones inside the body. So are you ready, Marina, for all this information? Hello, Marina. Oh,
hi, Gill. I was just getting a couple of questions together from our listeners. So from last episode. So this is a total new level. This is a different level. I don't think those questions. I think those questions are redundant now, because you answer it all and you are taking us to the next level, understanding the chemical overload. Oh my God, this is powerful. Over to you, Gill.
Ready, steady, go. Okay, so let's look at some of the toxins that you'll be aware of. So ordinary pollution, for example. So what we're exposed to outside, cigarette smoke, car fumes, but also the things that you're using in your house. You know, your everyday air fresheners, they have high levels of toxins in them. And anything that is you're exposed to in terms of chemicals. And it's very sad to say that there's been a lot of experiments done on the umbilical cords of newborn babies, and there are even toxins found in those umbilical cords. So we are exposing our unborn children to the toxic world that we live in. Now, we also get toxins through our very processed foods. You know, I don't eat processed foods. You know, my diet is fairly healthy, because most people think of processed foods are the kind of what I call beige foods. So ready meals or highly processed foods such as breads and cakes and pastries and takeaways, those sorts of things. But actually, a lot of our everyday foods are processed too. So even the vegetables and fruit that you'll buy, particularly in your supermarket, will be processed. They will have enzymes, they will have preservatives on them so that their shelf life is preserved. And they will have been often put in cold storage for 6 months and up to a year before you get them. So apart from the fact that they're nutritionally deficient, they are also very difficult to process for the body because they are toxic to the body. Now, we also have things, this is a bit technical, called persistent organic pollutants, or POPs. So you will be familiar with this, things like herbicides, preservatives, and enzymes on your food. But we also have organic pollutants and other pollutants in our water supply. So it's just getting worse and worse here, isn't it? So we have things like added chlorine, added fluoride, we have volatile organics in our water supply, mercury, arsenic, lead, those kind of things, nitrates, and all sorts of organic pollutants, particularly in treated city water. So you're much more likely to be exposed to this if you're in the city rather than if you're living in the lovely countryside, which is where I live. So those are some of the persistent organic pollutants. But I'd like you to have a think about the environmental pollutants too. Now, as a woman, obviously I'm a woman, it's estimated that the average woman puts about 500 chemicals on her body every day. By the time you've done all of your personal care, your makeup, whatever it is. And a lot of those are heavy metals. We also obviously have heavy metals if you've got any mercury fillings, but also some of the environmental toxins that you perhaps don't know about are the BPA. So these are the cancer-forming things that are on your till rolls. So when you pay for your goods and you're handed your till roll, the substance that stops the ink from smudging is actually cancer-forming, as is the inside of your water bottle. So, if you do nothing else from what I tell you today, please, when you buy a bottle of water, don't keep it in your car, because as you heat that bottle up, then these cancer-forming chemicals are released. So And the last thing about exogenous toxins, and I think this is a very, very 21st century phenomenon that's happening here, is are things called xenoestrogens. Now, I don't know how else to say this, but these xenoestrogens, which are false estrogens, are keeping our estrogen levels out of whack, basically. We need a good balance between estrogen and progesterone as women, and we need a good balance of estrogen and testosterone for men. And what happens is, because we're getting these false estrogens into our diet, then it's keeping this balance out of whack. And we're seeing men with man boobs, for example. That's very common nowadays. And we're also seeing a huge amount, sort of something like 80% of couples are finding it really quite difficult to conceive. And 25% of those difficulties are unexplained. And very often that's because of these hormone disruptors, these xenoestrogens. Now, obviously, we get those xenoestrogens through residual drugs. So we've got high levels in the Western world of women taking HRT and the contraceptive pill. Now, as a nurse, I know that when you administer a pill, anybody pees out about 30% as a residual. You don't absorb everything from any pill or any supplement for that matter. So those residuals are going into our water supply, as are the human growth hormones that some of our food is being pumped up with. And this is what we're being exposed to all the time. And just simple things like your favorite coffee shop, your cup, they also xenoestrogens. And so I don't mean to frighten you, but what I'm doing here is to educate you about what is it about the environment that you're living in. Are there any things that you think that you could reduce so that your exposure to toxins could be reduced? What do you think, Marina? Over to you.
Well, I think that when we talk about going to the doctor and how bad the energy system is and complaining, we tend to forget that we've been born healthy, most of us, and maintaining your health is a duty, is a moral duty, and opening your mind is a moral duty. Opening your mind into not getting to the point where the doctors can't do anything for you, not exposing yourself to toxic temptation. Even a coffee, it's a big choice to make. So it's all that kind of things that are happening in our lives, and we allow them to happen. Over to you, Gill.
Yes, and it's interesting, isn't it? It's the cumulative effect. So even something like sugar, for example, we know there's been huge amounts in the press, certainly in the UK, about sugar being addictive and sugar actually being finally come out. We've known this as functional nutritionists for some time, that it's sugar, not fat, that causes us to be ill because of the inflammatory effects. But there are also, let's look now, endogenous things that are within our body that can also affect whether or not we become diseased, whether we're not become ill. So remember, exogenous are the things that are external, endogenous are the things that are happening internally. So one of the most common ways of us becoming diseased is the levels of free radical damage that we're exposed to every day. So this basically is what makes us old, what makes us age. So we're aging from the inside and the outside all the time. So it's a bit like when you bite into an apple and the apple goes brown. Now that's the oxidation process going on. So basically that's the aging process, and our body is doing that all the time because of the exposure to oxidation. So in order to counteract that, we need to put antioxidants in to counteract that free radical damage. And antioxidants are produced by pollutants, guess what? But they're also produced in a number of other ways as well. So, for example, if you exercise or when you exercise, it's a bit annoying, really, because we're all told that we need to exercise. But as you up your activity, then your production of free radicals also goes up. Now, that's not a problem in itself, as long as you are counteracting your exercise by putting in antioxidants. And later on in the series of these that I'm going to do, we're going to talk a little bit more about free radicals and how they work in the body and how you can help yourself to reverse aging. Now, we've also got gut microbiome, but metabolites. That's a very fancy word, isn't it? But there are things that are happening with our gut. The two critical components of your body, the two organs that are the most critical things in your body, are your heart and your cardiovascular system, but it's also your digestive and intestinal system, and that includes your liver, by the way. And it's proven that things like saccharin and aspartame, for example, disrupt the gut microbes. So I spend a lot of time with people who say, well, I don't eat sugar, I've got the sugar message, so I've gone on to diet drinks. But of course, those diet drinks very often contain this toxic cancer-forming substances, such as saccharin and aspartame. And they're particularly toxic for anybody that has autoimmune, and particularly anybody with multiple sclerosis, that kind of thing. But very quickly, just to finish, let's look at also the other toxic things that are in, and those are the steroid hormones, adrenaline, and particularly cortisol. Now, in this 21st century world that we live in, we have much higher levels of stress on our body than we've ever had before. And people say to me, well, Gill, I don't think I need to supplement with anything because, you know, I think we can get all our vitamins and minerals and nutrients from our food. Now, 50 years ago, I think they were correct, because the food that we had then was unadulterated. It wasn't covered in enzymes and all the toxins that we talked about. So what we call organic food, our parents used to, or grandparents just called food, basically. But we've also got the very stressful effect of the 21st century living on our bodies. So that's stress from our workplace. It's in terms of our work-life balance for women or men that are juggling family and work life. It's from any illnesses, and increasingly, as you can see from the disease and disease toxic match that I've just talked about, that we are so much more prone to disease and lower immunity. But it's also to do with the physical stress that we put on our bodies as well. I think as a 21st century, particularly women, I think we're quite hard on ourselves. Marina, would you agree?
Yes, it's you see, after centuries of being confined into four walls, or how many rooms there were in your house, suddenly the world realizes that the world is not enough without women, and they are expected to be outside those walls as well, not only taking care of the family, but taking care of the business of running a life, a healthy life, which is a great thing. But what everybody forgets is that women, as powerful as they are very sensitive souls, and they care for others more than for themselves. And unless they empower themselves and they understand their role, the new role they have in society, and become aware how much they are needed, is they expose themselves to less healthy choices, or lesser life or shorter life, without even knowing. Because all this rushing around, all this stress about being the best, the perfect, the smartest, the most beautiful, the everything, it's eating out your energy which you should use for me time. That's why we have at Radio Works World, perhaps you know, we have twice a week now a show about me time, which really helps women understand that they are worth it. They are everything. as I said, the world is not enough without the woman who before used to be just a service to others. Now she needs to service herself first to be able to service others. And that shows that committing yourself to better life choices, and people like yourself, I so love you, Gill, because you actually create better life choices, where before I won't know what is available. Now I learn, now I become aware, now I'm thinking before I put any toxins in my body, or I expose myself to any toxins. And it's all because of you and people like yourself who want to save 1 million lives this year. Over to you, Gill.
Yes, thank you. And I think that, you know, one of the things that I've learned is that I studied with an American herbalist, and he told me something which I thought is really really resonated with me. You know, the men are the hunter gatherers in historically, and as you say, women, we were the family makers. You know, we were at home, and men are adapted, their bodies are adapted to deal with stress and with adrenaline and cortisol because they needed to do that. You know, they were going to go out and they were going to go and kill the animals, so they needed these high levels of stress, high levels of cortisol to be able to go and save the world and save their family and feed their family. But women aren't physiologically able to deal with those stress hormones in the same way that men are. Men go out and they, you know, nowadays they'll go and have a game of football, or they'll go and ride their cycle, or whatever it is that they want to do. And then they come home, you know, and we've all seen it, they slope down on the sofa, you know, watch their favorite television, switch off completely until their fires are fueled again, and up they go and off they go again. But women, we tend to keep going all the time because we're juggling so many things, but also our body doesn't have that physiological switch off that allows cortisol to be leached out of the body and to be released.
So you are saying that being a woman, a healthy woman, is learning to become a man?
No, I'm saying
just kidding.
Being a healthy woman is being able to reduce the stress, is trying not to be superwoman, is actually realizing that you can't be all things to all people. As you say, you need some me time. You need to be able to put things every day into your life that gives you the space in your body to recover physically from the cortisol, the high levels of stress hormones that are in your body all the time. Does that make sense?
Total sense for me, and I so love your teaching, because you make total sense. You know, you are not saying, oh, this is what you should be. You are not academic about it. You experience it all yourself, and you learn from your own pain how important it is for you to go out there, share your story, and bring about new possibilities, bring about the power, the inspiration for women to think in a different way, to change the way they look at things. So you look at your daily chores each, you know, once in a while, and I think, yeah, I done all of that, but there's nothing really you can show for it because it's all gone. But planning ahead, deciding that this is the path I'm taking, it's a total different dimension of commitment to yourself, to your health. And you are a pathfinder, Gill, to me. You found this path to health where you are just reinventing yourself, your choices, and doesn't cost you anything. It's not about spending more money on more fashionable things or fancy things. It's all about looking inside, thinking, okay, so I done all of that, didn't work. I had to change into this new Gill, and this new Gill could be this new Mary, this new Joanna, this new Elizabeth. So transferring that experience into other people's life, it's simply priceless. And I'm so grateful you are here sharing. And I'm sorry I'm keep interrupting you, but I'm amazed about how much you bring every single time you come in and you teach us. And I wish more and more listeners will focus on their own health and they will learn from your story. Over to you, Gill.
Thank you. Well, I think, we have such a massive problem here with the health megatrends that we have in this country. So the megatrends that we've all talked about, which is, heart disease and stroke, diabetes and obesity. And all of these, the reason I'm going through all of this with you is to show you that, all of these things act as obesogens. This is a kind of new term that's been phrased by the functional nutritionists. And basically those obesogens work because what they do, I just want to explain to you why this makes us fat. Why is it that these toxins make us fat, sick and unhappy? And I get lots of women that I work with that have been on endless diets, for example, and they'll go and they'll lose weight and then they'll put that weight back on, or even more perhaps. And they'll go to a slimming club. And of course, these slimming clubs are not designed to be successful, because otherwise they would never have a business model that would work. They're designed so that actually you keep going back, you keep having to go back. That's the sad fact of it. Even, one of the biggest slimming companies in the world, the CEO admitted that, their systems are designed to fail. But when you understand how you can reduce toxicity in your diet and in your everyday life, and why you need to do it, then you are empowered to take control. Toxins are stored in your fat cells. So if you can see me, I've got my hands in a kind of circle. So if you can't see me, I'd like you to imagine a ping pong ball, and that's a cell. Now, outside of the cell, this is where the fat is stored. So every cell has fat around it. But every time toxins come into your body, they need to be stored away safely in your fat cells. Anything that the liver can't deal with, they're stored in your fat cells. So actually, if you're very toxic, your fat is your friend, because it's storing away the toxins from your vital organs, such as your brain and your heart. So if you can imagine your little ping pong ball, it's got quite a permeable, you could pierce that ping pong ball with a needle, and it would be easy to do, which means that allows you to get good nutrients into the cell, but it also helps you to get bad things out of the cell. But as you take your body, the fat gets bigger and bigger around that ping pong ball until it gets to a golf ball size, or a tennis ball size, or a basketball size even. And this is the fat buildup that is holding all the toxins in your body. So in order for you to live a healthy life, it's no good just going on a diet, if you like. You need to be able to address the underlying cause and to be able to reduce the toxins so that you can then start this process where the body can heal itself. Because a healthy body, one that's in homeostasis, will not be overweight. It will not have menopausal symptoms. It won't have joint pain. It won't develop cancer. And this is my mission, is to help you to create homeostasis so that your body can do the job that it needs to do. Over to you, Marina.
Wow, Gill. So why toxins makes us fat and unhappy? That's the number one question each one of us should ask, and discover how much is available out there to address that and close that that old thinking. Because it's all to do with your mindset, with your mentality of how you deal with reality on a daily basis. And I read somewhere, I can't remember where or who said it, but I read that it was a question: what could be more expensive than ignorance?
Yeah,
it makes total sense, because ignorance at any level is very expensive. But ignorance when it comes to your own life, to your health, to what you could learn about your body and how much that could help your mind. because you can't be fat and be happy. That's doesn't, you know, is simply not possible. So understanding all the inside tricks of living and leading a healthy life is actually the answer, and is not necessarily running to the emergency room. You don't need to go there. You already done it yourself. You went through that painful period in your life to discover this new path, and offering that to your clients, to our listeners, so they could benefit from your pain. Over to you, Gill.
Yes, you know, we can't hide away, you know, from this. This has to be faced. Particularly in the UK here, you know, we have a very struggling National Health Service. Now, don't get me wrong, the National Health Service is fantastic. And if ever I, you know, get run over by a bus, or, you know, I get an infection in my toe, I'm the first person to go to the National Health Service. But the rest of my body is my responsibility. You know, I believe that practicing a healthy lifestyle may just make for a perfect life. That's what I always say. But you have to practice, because you know, creating a healthy life is really just about creating good habits. And my role, my job is to give you information so that you can start to create good habits. Even if you just change one of those a day, even if is stop buying that Starbucks coffee, or if you buy it, you know, have a decaf one and have it out of an ordinary cup. Don't have the takeaway cup because of the xenoestrogen. There are little things that you can do every day that will help you to reduce the toxic load in your body. And,
Wow.
and next time that I come on, I'm going to be talking about how we can help our bodies even more. And I really think it's probably about time that I introduced you to the miracle molecule. So I promise I will do that on the next show.
I can't wait. And so your key message for today, Gill?
My key message for today is really about looking at what is your daily chemical cocktail. What is it that you can change in your diet today, and into your external environment, and in your external and internal environment? So are there some things you could change? Reducing the amount of sugar, toxin. Reducing the amount of caffeine, toxin. Reducing the amount of exposure to chemicals that you might put on your face, or that you have in your house in terms of air fresheners, or that you clean your sink with, or whatever it is. Are there things that you can do in terms of buying food that is fresh and locally sourced? You know, what is it that you can do today to build up so that you can reduce the toxic load? That would be my message.
Wow. Toxic temptations. Get rid of them. Until next time, from both of us is goodbye. Stay out of toxin. Goodbye.
Goodbye.